Welcome. It's Tuesday. I'm Lucas. This is TOEFL Tuesdays with Lucas. That's me, from Magoosh. And today we're talking about grammar and the TOEFL. Now, specifically, we're going to talk generally. We're going to talk about how and why you would study grammar for the TOEFL. Because today will be the first lesson on grammar, and in next Tuesday, well, not next Tuesday, but in following Tuesdays in the future, sometime, I will talk more about the actual specific grammar points and what you should study and what you should know. Today, just why you learn them and how you learn them. So, why do you study grammar for the TOEFL? I mean, let's think about this. There are 4 sections on the TOEFL, and none of them are grammar. There's reading, listening, speaking, and writing. No grammar. By the way, on the PBT, the paper-based test, there is a grammar section, grammar and writing, but only 2 or 3% of people take the PBT. Most people take the IBT, which is what I always talk about during our TOEFL Tuesdays. So that IBT test has 4 sections with no grammar. So why should you study it? It's important for every one of those 4 sections. It's important for reading, listening, speaking, and writing, especially the latter 2, especially speaking and writing. Those 2 test your grammar specifically. That is, you are graded based on how good your grammar is. If you speak with correct grammar, you get a higher grade than if you speak with poor grammar. Similarly, if you write with better grammar, then you get a higher grade than if you write with poor grammar. That's pretty clear, right? You would expect that. You should expect that. That's normal. Now, you do not need to know the rules exactly. You just need to know how to use them. Well, how can you use them if you don't know the rules? So, this brings me to how to study. Many people, when they study English grammar, just do exercises. They do, for example, exercises on conjugating verbs into the 3 forms. Do, did, done, for example, or do and does, did and done. And they try to conjugate them and put them into the correct forms in sentences. And you choose which tense, or should it be perfect or not perfect? Should it be continuous or not continuous? Those kinds of exercises, they're not great for the TOEFL. They're part of what you should do, but they're only one step. There are 4 steps to learning grammar and actually knowing the grammar. The first is learning the rule. That's what you do in those exercises with, on paper, conjugating verbs to different forms, etc., etc. And that's what you do in many grammar classes, many English classes. The next, though, and this is much, much more important, I think, is seeing those structures, seeing that grammar in real English. That means reading, read a lot, and listening. Listen to actual native English speakers, and you want to hear them use those grammar structures that you learned. If you hear people like me using the grammar that you learned, then you know better how to use it. So once you have heard it and read it, then you start trying to use it yourself. You try to imitate. You try to do the same thing that you heard and read. And you do that because you learned the rule, you saw the rule, and now you're ready to do it yourself. So that's step 3. Step 4 is correcting yourself, because you're going to be wrong. It happens. You're learning. Everyone who is learning English makes mistakes. So step 4 is correcting those mistakes. But this doesn't happen 1, 2, 3, 4. It happens 1, then 2, and 1 and 2, and then 3, and then 1 and 2 and 3, and then 4, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It gets mixed up, and you have to do all of these steps together. It starts with knowing, or learning really. It ends with correcting, but in the process you do all 4 of those steps in combination. So remember to read and listen and use English as much as possible, correct yourself, and keep studying those rules. And soon we'll talk about some specific grammar rules for the TOEFL here in TOEFL Tuesdays. But for now, keep in mind how to study, how to use it, and how to find it in actual native English speaking. That's all for today. I'll see you next Tuesday. Happy studying.